Hi guys, welcome to the Fight Tonight channel. George Kambosos Jr. to defend boxing world titles on June 5 in Melbourne against Vasiliy Lomachenko or Devin Haney. Australian undisputed lightweight boxing champion George Kambosos Jr. will defend his 3 world title belts at Melbourne's Docklands Stadium on June 5. However, the Sydneysider, who started the boxing world with his shock defeat of Teófimo López in November, says the stadium superfight will not necessarily be against Ukrainian Vasiliy Lomachenko, while admitting Lomachenko had edged into favoritism. Kambosos said American Devin Haney remained in the hunt. They are both still in the running, Kambosos said. I think Lomachenko has started to creep close to the finish line, and that's exciting me big time because Lomachenko is a hell of a fighter. A guy who's won 2 Olympic gold medals, multiple world titles. But Devin Haney excites me a lot, too, because he does have that small, other little piece that he loves, the WBC belt. He never really earned it in the ring, but he does love his piece, and I would love to splatter his face across the ring and take that off him as well. But they are both still in the running, and it's going to be interesting to see who crosses the finish line and has to step into the lion's den of ferocious Kambosos, the Emperor. Lomachenko was widely considered the premier pound-for-pound boxer on the planet before Lopez in October 2020 stripped him of the WBA, WBO and IBF, which Kambosos now holds. Friends, before starting to watch this video, I would like to ask you to subscribe to my channel. If you really enjoy the content, then please subscribe to my channel and keep watching the videos. If you are subscribed, then you receive notifications about the release of new videos. You do not even have to look for anything personally. I really want to get 100 subscribers on my channel. I'm trying very hard, absolutely every day, and I need your support. Your likes, comments, reposts to social networks. Thanks to everyone who subscribes to my channel. You are my support. Thank you so much. Haney has the WBC belt. There is only ever been 2 names that I've ever been interested in. I've only ever been interested in Devin Haney and Vasiliy Lomachenko, Kambosos said. People are going to say, wow, Kambosos is crazy. He is taking a massive risk to fight one of these guys in his first defense. But you've got to be a little bit crazy in this game. They said I was crazy when I said I was going to be better than Lopez in every single aspect, and I proved them wrong. I'll prove them wrong again. I don't plan on handing these belts over, ever. These belts are mine. I know what I had to go through to earn them the hard way, and I did what no Australian has ever done before, and again, I'm ready to create more history. This is a legacy fight for me. This is my destiny. Kambosos took in the Australian Open tennis, watching Greek ace Stefanos Tsitsipas at Rod Laver Arena, before deciding on Docklands Stadium, which has an official capacity of 52,000 but could convincingly seat more for a boxing match with seats on the ground. It's going to be a hell of an environment, he said. It's unfortunate that there is no stadium ready in Sydney. I love the new Sydney football stadium, and that's a future place that I will fight. And Melbourne is an amazing city, great stadiums, and it just has that atmosphere, and that's what we're excited about after seeing now the tennis was and how the fans interacted. This is going to be huge. A mega fight is only fitting for it. The Emperor comes back home to fight in front of all his people in the biggest fight ever in Australian boxing. George Kambosos tells De La Hoya Ryan Garcia must earn title shot against him. George Kambosos Jr. gave promoter Oscar De La Hoya some bad news on Wednesday night, telling him that his fight Ryan Garcia must earn a title shot against his 4 lightweight titles by beating a few big names. To put it another way, Kambosos Jr. is giving Golden Boy boss De La Hoya the royal brush off by setting up hardless that the unbeaten Ryan Garcia must overcome before he is given a chance to fight for them beautiful belts. The highly experienced and accomplished De La Hoya had given the 28-year-old Kambosos Jr. some helpful advice, letting him know that he can make the most money fighting the popular Garcia rather than the other fighters that he is considering for his next fight. IBF, WBA, WBC franchise, WBO lightweight champion Kambosos Jr. is fighting on June 5th at the Melbourne Stadium in Melbourne, Australia, for his next fight. The two-time Olympic gold medalist Vasiliy Lomachenko is reportedly in the pole position to get the fight against Kambosos. According to ESPN, Lomachenko has already agreed to a rematch clause to give Kambosos a second fight, should he defeat him on June 5th, and Loma is also on board with the money for the fight. Lomachenko will take the small money to get the opportunity to challenge the brash, self-praising Kambosos. If everything goes in Lomachenko's favor, he will hold all 4 titles after June 5th, and Kambosos' 50 minutes of fame will be in the dustbin of history like many fighters before him that briefly held titles. What Kambosos says about wanting Garcia to earn a title shot against him by beating 3 solid top lightweights would make perfect sense if the Australian had the talent to hold on to his 4 belts long enough for that scenario to play out. Lomachenko likely to dethrone Kambosos. Sean Jones hates to drizzle on Kambosos' parade, but the reality is he is going to get battered and beaten by Lomachenko on June 5th, totally embarrassed in front of his own fans in Melbourne, Australia. If Kambosos chooses not to fight Loma, he will lose just the same to WBC lightweight champion Devin Haney. Loma and Haney are on a different perch than Kambosos, who arguably talent-wise is more down at the level of the Mikey Bass and Lee Selbus at lightweight, in Sean Jones' opinion. There is at least 10 lightweights that would dethrone Kambosos if given the opportunity to fight him, and Lomachenko and Haney are just 2 of the many. From Kambosos' standpoint, it makes sense for him to fight Loma in a 2-fight deal, especially if the talented Ukrainian is agreeing to be paid next to nothing for those 2 fights. At the end of those 2 fights, Kambosos will be a rich millionaire, set for a life of leisure, and it won't matter that he will no longer be in possession of them beautiful belts. It won't be surprising if Kambosos' net worth after his 2 fights with Lomachenko will be in the 10 million range, and he will be living like a king for the rest of his existence. Get trainer choice by Garcia. Guzan will bring out the best, said De La Hoya in favoring Ryan's choice of Drew Guzan as the replacement coach by Eddie Reynoso. Garcia can't go wrong with Drew Guzan as he's a new trainer to replace Reynoso. It was obvious after Canelo Alvarez criticized Ryan publicly that he needed to leave that training situation, and it was a wise move on King Rai's part in doing so. The last thing that Ryan needed was to train in an environment that he wasn't comfortable in. Perhaps Canelo's motive for criticizing Ryan in public was a well-intentioned move on his part, but maybe it was jealousy on his part seeing the huge appeal King Rai had with the younger teenage boxing fans. Tank Davis, hands down one of the most exciting fighters today. He is very skilled with lethal power in both hands. He is fun to watch and is a proven draw, selling out venues in the United Kingdom and all over the United States. He's got all the ingredients and charisma to become a crossover star. He has the it factor. But in order to accomplish that, he needs to take his game to the next level, and sooner rather than later, he is entering his golden years in terms of abilities and physical prime. And facing top opposition is, in my opinion, what stands in between him and turning into a certified pay-per-view star, as well as becoming the other face of boxing. His team, however, has a different approach and roadmap to his career. They are content with what they have in Davis, and just like a timid corporation, they are not willing to take risks. Granted, Davis' business is good and brings in decent revenues, but it could be more, much more. Taking risks is important for innovation in any business, because the right innovations can lead to big profits. The business of boxing is no different. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel.